Welcome to It's Not Sports. I'm your host, Callie Sinovia. I'm with Tyson Rex.
Hello.
So, tons of things have happened since we've been gone. We've been gone about a month. I've been working on something individually that I'm really excited to show you guys. I'm doing a feature profile on Porter Gustin, who is an outside linebacker at USC. And then we've had a ton of things happening in our sports world. We had the U.S. men's national team take home the Gold Cup. We had
National men's team, way to go.
And then we had Kyrie inform the Cavs that he wants to be traded.
We'll get into that later.
We've got the NFL we're in preseason. We're 2 weeks away from the season opener. And then we have Mayweather and McGregor coming up at the end of the month.
A full agenda coming up in
Yes.
just 13 days.
Yes. But before I touch on all of this, I wanted to first talk about what happened at our alma mater.
The University of Utah.
Yeah. And last week it was reported that at least two flyers had been posted on campus displaying racist facts. I'm going to put facts in quotations because these facts were never confirmed. They were just spewed out.
These facts, what were they? Like,
So
what kind of things were they saying?
So it was, the whole thing was that, stop the blacks because they're raping the white women.
Whoa.
They're involved in all this crime, and then they're involved in all this murder. And then it had like specific like numbers for each of those, and that's what I'm talking about. That has not been confirmed at all. That was just something someone made up to.
Well, and even if the numbers are true,
Right.
they don't take into account the cause.
Yes, exactly.
They don't also list like white murders right underneath the black murders. They just say the blacks this.
It's very tunnel vision, and I mean, the whole crime and murder part is another discussion for another day. But I read that and I just was shocked that was happening here in Salt Lake City, Utah, a state in which supports bringing everyone together, has a strong family atmosphere, wants to protect us from drinking our liquor. I was just blown away, and it just fuels this sense of we are so divided right now, and I don't know how we bridge that gap. The divide feels so far away.
Well, we are definitely, just as a country, you could just feel the tension simmering. Having it happen in Utah doesn't necessarily surprise me, because this is a state that, while a lot of people here don't subscribe to alt-right views and views against immigration and things of that sort, this state has also been the slowest to adopt some of the more progressive policies. 1978 is when black people were first allowed to assume the priesthood in the church. And in their own religious scriptures, they're felt as being descendants of Cain or Canaanites. So I do think that Utah lags behind other cities or other states such as California, where the integration has been long and there's been a lot less, at least, religious bigotry. We've made a lot of strides, but Utah has become a lot more diverse in the last decade or 2 decades, but culturally we're still catching up.
Definitely. But I think the surprising thing is this is coming from 18 to 21-year-olds. Like, these kids that have never grown up with this, at least pointedly in their face. And so I think that's what's so surprising to me.
And that is scary. You would expect
are we
anyone that
having
was
a
18 to 21 to have grown up in this culture that was supposed to be more accepting.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And I think, and then the bright spot is that, we have people that are quick to act, and there's a demonstration scheduled for tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. at the Salt Lake City City and County building. A solidarity rally to bring people together, and I think that's awesome that we do have the counterbalance there in place already. And I think that's the bright spot we can take from this. And hopefully, we see something like that come together in Charlottesville as well.
Absolutely. And something even bigger than what was yesterday, which they were estimating 3,000 to 4,000 people total between the alt-right demonstrators and the counter demonstrators. And it's just a tragedy what happened yesterday. We've got these tensions flowing up in the country, and there's a million causes. We don't need to go into them now, but it's just tragic that someone would go and just run over a bunch of people.
Totally.
As of right now, 1 killed, 19 injured, 5 of whom are in critical condition.
And let's call it what it is. It's a terrorist attack.
It was a terrorist attack. It
caused
just a
terror.
Domestic
Yes.
terrorist attack.
No one from the Islam faith was involved, but that doesn't mean it's not terrorism.
Yeah, these are things that are boiling over now because of the fact that we're not fully racially integrated. We're not fully accepting of one another or other races. Sometimes I think that's a little bit built in the sense that we like to be with people we like, and we're the most integrated country on this earth. Mm-hmm. You go to China, you're going to go see 95% Chinese people.
Yes.
You look at the China. This is a point Bill Burr made a while back when he says, "Look at the Chinese Olympic team." I think it was Chinese gymnasts he was talking about, and he's like, "All Asian." Here in America, we've got a black person, an Asian person, white people,
Native Americans.
I mean.
Latinas.
And it's a beautiful ideal, but the tensions are still obviously there. And I think also when you're having a rally, it's a good idea to not have a counter rally happening at the same time where people are literally getting in front of one another's faces, macing people. A lot of people from the alt-right were getting maced by BLM and other counter demonstrators. And that's just not right. You might disagree with somebody vehemently. And if you caught them in a bar and they were disrespecting you, you might want to take them down, but they have a right to say something even though you hate it. And so, I'm a little ashamed too because, BLM and other counter movements to the alt-right really needs to refrain from any type of violence when people are doing something like this.
Yeah.
Just protest if you will, but don't confront them. Don't attack them. Don't mace them. And then, of course, then on the other side of it, you've got this guy who completely loses his crap. And I was reading some eyewitness accounts, and I guess he had sat there in that Dodge Charger watching for a little while.
Oh, God.
Watching. And then once that street was literally just plumb full of people.
Premeditated.
He just floored it and gassed it. And what stopped him, because he would have hit a lot more, but there happened to be 2 vehicles that were stopped in front of him, and he crashed into the back of one of them, and then immediately backs up at full speed trying to get out of there with people chasing him. But you injure 19 people and kill 1 so far, and it's just a tragedy. And I think, anybody's capable of losing it in that moment where you just lose your cool and you do something crazy, but
God, that's
look at the
that's on
consequences.
another level.
That's on another level.
That's on another level, and that should never occur.
Yeah.
But I think if there's another bright spot here it's that maybe racism has just been simmering this whole time, and like we hear this from all of our favorite rappers, Kanye West, Lupe Fiasco, they've been saying this whole time.
Yeah, for decades.
And so maybe the bright spot is that all this is happening right here in front of us. So it's actually healthy that we're being able to talk about it instead of addressing something that's kind of simmering under the skin. Like this is happening and everywhere.
And that's a really good point. Is maybe our awareness is more.
Yeah.
I remember seeing a Dave Chappelle comedy special. This was an old one, like back when he was still doing a show. But he was talking about cops like pulling over black people, and then whenever they left them, they'd just sprinkle crack on them. And I remember thinking, ignorant at the time, I'm like, oh, police officers don't do that. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure most of them don't. But then you saw a couple weeks ago a surveillance video of a cop planning drugs, and he didn't know it was being recorded, and then going and hitting the record button going and retrieving him. And I laughed just because it's so fucking ironic.
Yes.
Black people have been saying this for decades, and it's probably the awareness is increased. Because, see, decades ago, stuff like this there would have just been one newspaper that reported it, and whatever their account was going to be the truth.
Yeah.
And you look even in the 50s and the 40s and the 60s and this whole time in our past where people would be arrested and charged with drug possession or whatever. That was big in the 80s with Reagan.
Oh, definitely.
And it still is big. 80% of our people in prison for nonviolent drug offenses, mostly marijuana and mostly black.
Yeah.
So it's been going on, and the awareness is definitely much higher now because everyone is a videographer nowadays.
Yeah, and so there's a forced accountability there, and hopefully this helps us figure it out. I feel like, we go through these social things, and it's a cyclical rotation. I feel like we get to a point where, like, okay, things are good, and then we swing back the other way, and we have to figure it out. So hopefully that's what this does.
Yeah, and kudos for the rally. Again, it's at the City and County Building.
Downtown.
Tomorrow at 7 p.m. downtown Salt Lake City for anyone that's interested. Kudos for doing that and to do it so quick. That is one thing that's changed too.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have had a counter demonstration for unity 40 years ago in this country.
Yeah, we definitely, and even maybe 10 years ago wouldn't have been so immediate either. Yeah. And I'm glad that there's that immediacy. So the U.S. men's team wins the Gold Cup. I was watching them play, and Bruce Arenas so boldly was changing up the roster, and you could just kind of see the awkwardness on the pitch. Like, these guys aren't used to playing with each other, and it turned out great. But there was definitely cause for concern, and there were long stretches where the U.S. men's team were playing really, really well, but they could not score, and it was frustrating, but they figured it out. They won the cup, which is great for the U.S. men's team. They increased in their ranking for the national rankings, and that just puts us in a better position for the World Cup. And another caveat to that is the European players weren't allowed to play in the Gold Cup, so there are going to be additional players that we haven't seen yet play with the U.S. men's team. So I feel overall pretty optimistic about our chances in the next World Cup. And this coming from out of Cleveland on July 21st, we find out that Kyrie had sat down with the GM and the owner and has requested a trade. What the hell is he thinking? And citing, like not wanting to play second fiddle to LeBron James. But let me give you some facts here. In the regular season, Kyrie gets 19.7 touches per game. LeBron gets 18.2. In the playoffs, Kyrie gets 24.6 touches. LeBron gets 23.3. That doesn't sound like second fiddle to me.
No, not in terms of those statistics. The problem with Kyrie, can I just say this? I just got to say this. Oh, Kyrie. I mean, I did the same thing when I found out that he actually believes the world is flat.
Oh, God. And he's a smart guy.
He's a super smart guy. I mean, smart people can think dumb things. Like smart people think, black people shouldn't be in America. So
yeah, definitely.
Some of them might be smart. But
I don't know if they're smart.
But Kyrie, it's not the statistics. Kyrie, like these these finals, James has been deferring to Kyrie to hit like the biggest shots in the game. And last year, Kyrie hit the game winner. He gets more shots per game, but he's not more famous than James. He is not a better all-around statistical player than James.
No.
It's James's size. James dominates whatever room he walks in, and James is the alpha, even if Kyrie averages one more shot per game.
So?
No, agreed. It's not. I don't think he has a leg to stand on. I think it's foolish. Your team has been in the finals 3 years in a row.
Yes, why would you leave that?
And it's not that he's leaving because he's like, oh, I don't think we made it aggressive enough trades during the summer to beat Golden State.
Although there was the peculiar comment, and ESPN, a couple weeks before he requests the trade, someone is a reporter is asking him how he feels the Cavs offseason is going, and he had one word as a response: peculiar.
Peculiar. He said peculiar.
Yeah.
A one-word response to that question.
Yep.
Peculiar.
See, now
peculiar.
It's so hard to say.
It's a peculiar word to say.
It is.
But to me, if that's part of your reasoning, that's what you say to the GM, and that's what you say publicly. You do not specifically call out LeBron James when in a request for a trade. You don't specifically say, "I do not want to play with LeBron James." Everyone else that's played with him has loved to play with him,
and he's made them better. And we saw what
or at least we hear.
We saw what Kyrie was doing before LeBron James got there. They were not winning.
But he was the top dog on a very mediocre squad. He was the all-star.
And I'm going to tell you, like, the teams that he has requested to be traded to.
New York, San Antonio,
which I don't see that being a good spot for him if he's not wanting to, if he wants to be his own man. Like, he's not going to be his own man in San Antonio. Pop's like the guy there, and no one else is allowed to really have a personality besides that. So and then Phoenix,
exactly. I read that Phoenix is the most well-equipped to make a deal with him at this moment.
Yeah, but I don't think that they're going to want to get rid of Booker. He
didn't specifically said he wants to go to Phoenix.
Yeah.
And you're right, with Booker, I mean, why trade somebody that's already your number one for a potential number one who also could potentially be a little bit of a head case?
Yeah. I mean, I am floored. I could not, when that Twitter update coming across my phone, I was like, what?
Oh, Kyrie.
I was like, what? Why would anyone want to leave? And I've heard the counter arguments, meaning, LeBron has made no commitments about staying in Cleveland beyond this year.
And I think that's important.
And that's important too. So maybe he's just saying, I don't trust that he's going to be here. I know what it's like without him here. I'm getting out and having a fresh start.
Well, and then why not say that then? Why, just for the sake of everyone's egos, why not just simply say that? The future's uncertain. I feel this is our last year to make it.
But I mean, if that's the case, then why be the bad guy right now? Why not just let LeBron be the bad guy when he leaves, and then if he does leave, then you can make your exit as well. I don't know.
Well, and I don't know how this is going to work out, but now I'm beginning to wonder too if even the Cavs will trade him. They may have to do like this miraculous smoothing over of relations to go for one more year because, Kyrie might not want to go if it's to the Suns, and the Suns may not want to get rid of Booker. Mm-hmm. I don't see how New York gets him. I mean, yeah, we've heard these rumors about Melo going to play with James.
Yeah, but what are they going to trade Cleveland for right now? And Cleveland is the team that's currently constituted is geared to win right now. So yeah. I don't think New York's an option.
Yeah,
it's not a good option.
It's not a good option. It's hard to see that they have the firepower to trade for.
And then you hear,
Kyrie.
In the first and second rounds, Kyrie went days without talking to his teammates. So
yep.
I mean, this has been building for some time.
Yeah.
And it's actually kind of amazing that we haven't been hearing about it until
this
now.
bombshell just
Yeah.
drops. Whoa, Kyrie wants to leave?
Yeah.
And then I read something about how he came on, though, that James comes to town 8 days after Kyrie gets this maximum contract. And from what I've read, I think I read it on Bleacher Report, was that Kyrie wasn't informed ahead of time. Maybe the day before James arrived. But Kyrie had a few days to think. He signs this 5-year extension with big dollars, thinking that he's the top dog. And he's allowed to think this for a few days, and then all of a sudden James comes into town. And you're not being covered anymore. No one cares that all the big news is James is coming back. And so I've read that he's been sore about that ever since, because it was just such a big blow to his ego. Now, should it have been? I don't know. I'm not Kyrie. He's a passionate player. I think you've got to have a pretty big ego to drive yourself that hard, to compete as hard as he does, and to have something like that kind of sneak up on you without your preparation. It could just be that he's just been offended for a long time, but he made the best out of the situation.
Yeah.
Until now.
And I think the win, also goes a long ways to smoothing out a situation, and having lost in the fashion that they did last year, I'm sure does not help bring anyone together either.
And
but
before that, we were trying to say the word peculiar earlier. That was kind of the news before that, was what's going on with Cleveland.
Seriously, they were
We
so
know
close
they tried
to
for
getting
Paul George.
and they were so close to getting him.
Yeah.
Who knows what happened there? I mean, there were reports that all of a sudden the GM for Indiana just stopped taking their calls, but you don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know what happened, but if that happens, then you're looking at a completely different situation.
Yeah. You're looking at maybe one more championship, and Kyrie's maybe going, all right, one more year.
Yeah.
And then both James and I leave. But either way, still, Kyrie.
I know.
Finals 3 times in a row.
What
and
else?
yeah, you want to win. Don't get me wrong. You want to win, but you're in the team, at least that we know of currently. We'll have to watch how the season unfolds, but you're still in the best shot or best spot with Cleveland.
Definitely. And it's not that you're not getting exposure. He's got his shoe deal. I mean, he's playing second fiddle in the sense of, like, he's playing with a legend, a living legend right now.
Exactly.
But
And sometimes you can't, it's hard to have 2 ultra alpha personalities. Sometimes there's not enough room in the locker room for that.
yeah,
Unfortunately.
it's very disappointing.
LeBron could potentially be the greatest of all time. I don't know that I feel that now, but when you want your own spotlight, you're never going to get it as long as you're in the same room with him. That's just the truth. And if your ego really needs it, and you need to be the alpha, you need to be the superstar. What I haven't seen from him is the ability to take a team to the playoffs. Cleveland was very mediocre.
Yeah, I don't think he's not the uniter that James is, or the player that can make others better.
Yeah.
Because he's fantastic himself.
Yeah.
But I don't see him having that connection with others.
Yeah, when you go days without speaking to your teammates,
Yeah.
you're just going to have a whole bunch of sidekicks that are sick of your crap.
All right, so McGregor's taking on Mayweather August 26th.
August 26th. McGregor!
I really didn't want to talk about this subject because I don't think that it's going to be a good fight. I feel like they're throwing at us a lot of different marketing techniques, and I do marketing for a living, so I see this. I know it. So I think they're doing a lot of things to try and hype the fight, but the fact is the tickets aren't selling. They should be decreasing the tickets, the actual how much the tickets cost, so they do sell. And and the fight that's in the same exact venue in a couple weeks later is already sold out. So I don't know that McGregor even gets a good punch in. I don't know if he ever gets a good combo in. And I just think Mayweather runs from him the whole fight, and it's not going to be exciting. Although I think the lead up, the players coming to the ring might be exciting, and they may have some kind of artist performance. I think they'll do something to make it worth your while. But that's how I feel about it.
Well, I disagree on most points. However, I do concede that, odds-wise, if I'm a betting man, you're betting Floyd. The greatest, maybe the greatest boxer, definitely the greatest defensive boxer. 49-0, been boxing since he was 4 years old. It's the only thing he knows against a guy whose record is 0-0. A guy who's bigger physically, who's just as smart as Floyd, but no experience in pure boxing. Though it does have to be said, in the UFC, he's one of the better boxers in the UFC. Don't know that he's the best boxer in the UFC, but he's pretty good. His first fight, he loses to Diaz because he gets a big ringer, and he's a little bit stunned from that, and Diaz is able to get in, take him down, and get him to tap out. Second fight, he stands toe-to-toe with Nate Diaz, defends against the takedown, and punches through the whole fight. Excellent fight. Another big thing to me, Conor is going to be standing about 2 further feet away from Floyd than any boxer Floyd's ever chased. He does this in all of his fights. He has this weird, wide stance with his legs far apart, southpaw style, and it doesn't matter if you've been boxing 30 years. If you've never faced a guy that's going to be back that far away from you, by default, that's going to present some challenges. The other thing, Floyd's 40 years old. He hasn't fought in 2 years, and the last guy he fought, Berto, didn't even deserve to be in the ring with him. But then then the guy he fought before that, Pacquiao, had a torn shoulder. He went to surgery the very next morning.
They should have had that fight years earlier.
They should have had the fight years earlier. They should have postponed it. They should have allowed him to take something for pain, but that's against the anti-doping rules and all that, which is understandable. But you basically had Manny go the distance with him and potentially win a couple rounds with one hand.
See, and I think if there was a fight, it was that one, and they should have had it years earlier, before Pacquiao was over his peak. They missed a good opportunity there. Like that could have been historically relevant.
1999. Mark the year. That was when we were afraid of Y2K. And it was 9 years before the iPhone, or 8 years, the iPhone came out in 2007, was even invented, and we had this whole generation of round necks staring down at their phone. That was the last time Mayweather knocked somebody out. Most of you probably weren't even live the last time Mayweather had the punching power to knock somebody out. Conor has got a chin on him. And, Mayweather says he's going to knock him out. I don't think so. If it goes the distance, though, it's going to for sure be Floyd's fight. There's no way that you're going to have 3 boxing judges award a technical win to Conor. Conor does not have nearly the wide array of techniques and tools that Floyd has, so there's no way Conor gets the win if he doesn't knock Floyd out. I don't see Floyd knocking Conor out, though. If it goes the distance, it's going to be Floyd's technical win. It's still going to be an embarrassment for boxing, though.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have a guy who's never boxed before. Yeah, he's an incredible combat athlete, but you've taken 2/3 of his tools away from him.
Yep.
So even if he goes the distance against Floyd, it's going to be a blemish on Floyd's career. However, if Floyd knocks out Conor, he's potentially going to be considered the greatest of all time without. And one more point too, not to drag this on, but one more point. Floyd tweeted just over this last week that he was going to come at Conor. Now we'll see.
That's fucking
But he said
bullshit.
that he owes it. He said that he owes it to the fans to go after Conor, and that he's not going to run away from the whole fight.
That's called marketing 101.
That's trying to sell tickets.
It's trying to sell tickets. I don't believe that for 1 second. He's going to change his whole game up for this fight? No, that's not going to happen. It's not. I do not believe that. Do not subscribe to that. That's bullshit. Don't be fooled.
McGregor in under 4.
Well, that's it for us today. Thank you for joining us. It's been a lovely, lively discussion on It's Not Sports. I'm your host, Callie Sinovia.
And I'm Tyson Rex.
And we are out of
Outta
here.
here.
Adios.